Welcome to Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Chief David Molloy, Director of Public Safety for the City of Novi. And I have the honor of being joined today by Lieutenant Mark Thiesen of the Novi Fire Department. Lieutenant, welcome to Behind the Badge.
Thanks for having me, Chief.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, and the viewing audience, about your career and some of the training, the education that you have, and your current assignment with the organization?
Absolutely. I started in the fire service about 13 years ago with Lyon Township Fire Department as paid on call. And from there, I worked my way for a full-time position with the City of Novi as a fire protection officer. And then just currently, I got promoted to assistant shift supervisor or shift lieutenant. And that's what my current title is right now. I'm also a member of the Western Wayne County Hazardous Material Response Team, so I'm still plugging along with that.
Yeah. So for the most part, you're a supervisor in our fire operations division, so you're supervising the men and women who are providing EMS, fire suppression, inspections, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. My main focus is day-to-day operations, and I also focus on the mentoring of our new folks that are joined our department.
I think that's a big aspect to talk about and for the viewers to understand is we just don't, when we hire someone, we just brought on a new fire protection officer, Matt Markin, about a month and a half ago. Kind of explain what he has to go through over the course of the next 12 to 14 months.
Oh, it's always say that the first time that you start a new job, it's the shock value. But just think about if when you start the new job in the fire service or even as a police officer, you're dealing with emergencies of the most amount that anyone could ever expect. So we are dealing with someone's worst day. So we have to prepare these people for anything that could happen. Well, that would include any type of training, medical training, from a heart attack to a stroke. And then we also do the fire operations, so proper fire attack, ventilation. So we have to make sure that when that tone goes off, they're ready for anything that could come to them.
And that takes generally about 10 to 12 months for the most part to get all that completed.
Absolutely, and we try to make sure that they're comfortable with each step of the process. We break it up into different phases, so we'll move to a phase, make sure they're comfortable, and then we'll continue on.
What I like about the program is it's very task oriented. It's like a master checklist. There's a system that's been developed, but in addition to not only reading it and understanding it, but then it's the practical aspect of performing out, and that testing that might take the form of practical climbing, tying knots, but it also could be some type of distance learning that they're doing online by testing their competency of what to do in those types of situations.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that when they get on the fire scene, they can do everything. With our department, you could be pumping the truck, you could be fighting an interior attack, and then you could be moving over to someone that maybe was stuck in the building and need medical attention. So they have to deal with all of that.
Yeah. We do have some openings coming up in the next month here, and we would encourage people to visit our website at cityofnovi.org, take a look at some of the minimum requirements, but we look forward to, we've had a few retirements recently, and we look forward to filling those people with some very capable young men and women.
Absolutely.
Yeah. One of the things I know, Lieutenant, that you've really kind of taken on, we have a 3 to 5 year strategic plan for the Novi Fire Department. And one of the big goals that we've always looked at is how can we enhance the marketing and the services that we provide for community members. And I know we have a couple programs, one in particular, the Fire Home Inspection Program, which you have led. Can you tell the viewing audience a little bit about how that works, how someone could access that, and what would it entail?
It's actually a very exciting program that we started. It's a home and fire inspection, and what we do is we will be contacted by a homeowner. You could live in a condo, apartment, a residence. It doesn't matter. What we'll do is we'll schedule a good time to come out and we'll evaluate your home. So we'll evaluate it for any type of fire hazards, maybe a trip hazard, or something maybe that the person could be walking by every single day and not notice. So we want to make sure that you're safe in your home. It could be just checking your smoke detectors, make sure you change the batteries at least twice a year, having a fire extinguisher handy. A lot of people, when we walk into their home, we say, do you have a fire extinguisher? And they say yes, and then we say, can we see it? And then they think for about 3 to 5 minutes. So if that was an emergency, they wouldn't know exactly where it's at. So we make sure that the fire extinguisher is easily accessible. If you have a kitchen fire or some other type of fire in your house, you can easily access that and put the fire out.
Yeah, and I think that you make a good point, that 3 to 5 minutes. And much like you all train and we train in public service, you're going to train and you're going to perform in a stressful situation to the level of the training. So it's important for people to, number one, know where that fire extinguisher's at, but it's also important for families to have a plan, how to get out. And can we talk real quick about that? And I know you do some of that public ed work with our young folks throughout not only the Novi schools, but the Northville, the Walled Lake School District.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the job. What we do is we go into the schools and we teach the children, of course, stop, drop, and roll, calling 911, and the most important is when you get out, have a safe meeting spot. What we like to do is if we pull up to a residence, we want to make sure that everyone's out of the home. So if you have a safe meeting spot, it could be a mailbox out front, a large tree. We can go to the homeowner and say, is everybody out? They can look and say, yep, we're all out. But if someone's not accounted for, we kind of change our tactics a little bit. We're going to go into more of a rescue mode, and we're going to be looking for whoever might be trapped inside.
And I know some of the techniques that I've seen you utilize is when you do the public education talks with the young kids, you actually put on the full mask, the helmet, and everything, because it's going to look a little scary.
Absolutely. It's kind of like the Darth Vader. You know, you're breathing, you can't see your face. So one of the things I stress is, am I scary now just looking at me? Some kids say yes, but most of them don't. Then when I put on my face mask, I'm the same person. Am I scary? And it gives the children kind of that two-way mirror look.
Yeah. And I think that's so important for them to understand that they have to stay low. You know, we've had other speakers talk on keeping doors closed to bedrooms and so on and so forth, and I think those are absolutely critical. What other type of safety advice do you have for residents in terms of, you know, storing chemicals and things like that? Because I know I've seen homes where they have a furnace in a basement, yet they got 3 or 4 gallons of paint and other combustibles sitting close by.
Yeah, we never recommend that you store anything with your hot water heater or your furnace. We try to keep at least 36 inches around that, just in case. That furnace and the hot water heater, it's not designed to have things on it. So we want to keep everything away from that. And as far as the chemical storage, you know, most of the time every year, the city of Novi will offer a hazardous material day.
Yep.
So if you move into a home and you don't know what the chemical is, you can take it there, or you can also call us and we'll check it out for you.
Absolutely. And I think that's really important for people to understand. And I know some of our residential fires that we respond to are typically caused because something's not being done with the dryer. You want to talk a little bit about that and what we can do to prevent those types of dryer fires?
Yes, we stress that you always clean out your dryer vent. And it's not just the vent that you clean out every single day, it's the vent that goes all the way to outside. That vent usually traps about 85% of anything that comes through it. But there's still that extra 15-20% that could go into your vent itself. So you want to make sure that that is clean from the dryer all the way outside.
And I think people kind of forget that not only collects that lint, but it also gets very, very hot and very warm, and those seem to be some of the bigger things that'll start a residential fire.
Absolutely, and that's one thing that we also check when we do our home inspection is that vent.
Okay.
And we also check around the oven and the stove and make sure that you don't keep anything in the stove. Personally, my grandparents, when I did a home inspection at their house, they keep chips inside the stove. So how many times do you just start it up to preheat the oven and there's a bag of chips or some Tupperware in there?
Right.
So it's a thing that you never really want to keep anything in your stove.
Very good point. Very good point. Well, we're going to take a real quick break here from Behind the Badge, and we'll be back and continue to be joined by Lieutenant Mark Thiesen of the Novi Fire Department. So please stay tuned.
Being a dad can be tough.
No. What do you mean she's not coming?
When's the fairy princess coming?
Any minute now.
But when you're willing to do anything,
It is I, Cruz Zinkerbell. Okay, time for cake.
it's always worth it.
I know it's really you, Drew. I'm just pretending for the other kids.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Welcome back to Behind the Badge. I'm your host, Chief David Molloy of the City of Novi, and we're continue to be joined here by Lieutenant Mark Thiesen of the Novi Fire Department. Lieutenant, another program that I know you've been very instrumental in not only advancing, but also performing some of the inspections are our senior fall prevention inspections. Can you tell our viewing audience what that is all about?
Yes, we're focusing on the older population of the city of Novi for trip hazards and even any fire hazards. What we've been finding is that if we just do a simple inspection, we can eliminate a lot of these falls. And a lot of these falls for our seniors prevent injuries. A simple fall for an everyday person you can kind of get up. But as you get older, you might fall and you could break a hip, an arm, and we want to prevent that. So what we do is we'll go through kind of like our home fire safety inspection, but we'll look more for trip hazards. We'll look for maybe a rug that's by the doorway, maybe a plant or something that's on the ground, and it just always takes that second pair of eyes to look and see if a potential hazard that we can eliminate.
I know with some of them that I've seen, it's as simple as they might have a wood floor or a tile floor, but they don't have rubber bottom rugs. They just have regular rugs that if you step on it, it actually will slide. And you're absolutely right. They dislocate a hip, they break a hip, break a shoulder, and it's more difficult for them to retire once they get into their mature years.
Absolutely. So we want to prevent any of that from happening, and it could be just as simple as putting some two-way tape on a rug, which could prevent a major injury.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I was reading some reports the other day, we've done close to 100 of those already this year, just within the first 6 months of the year.
Yes, it's very successful, and once a neighbor says that I've had this home inspection, then the other neighbor will have it. We also, anytime that we go onto a medical emergency or maybe a citizen assist, a person that has fallen and just needs assist up, we always offer something like this, and we don't have to actually do it that day, but we can schedule it for some time in the future. It could be next week or the month.
And if someone's interested in doing that, obviously the website's always available, cityofnovi.org, but they could also call the fire station and schedule something like that.
Yep, they can call the fire station 24 hours a day, and the on-duty shift captain will schedule a home inspection for you. So we'll have the station crew, whatever district it is, we have 4 stations, the actual crew on duty will come out and do an inspection for you. And the best part about it, it's absolutely free.
That's great. And I know another program that has been absolutely invaluable for the city of Novi is our child safety seat inspection program. Tell the viewing audience what that entails and the successes we've had with that.
Yeah, this is another great program that we've started. It's the child safety seat inspection. So if you're having a baby or you're a grandparent and you want your seat properly installed, we have on-duty personnel that we can schedule, and they can look over your seat. And what they can also do is they can teach you of different things inside your vehicle that could be a hazard to the child. So we might, a box of Kleenex in an accident that's on the dashboard could slide and hit the child. So we want to make sure that nothing's on the dashboard. And anytime that you want to schedule it, we can kind of work around your schedule to come on in.
And those generally take between 20 minutes and a half an hour for people for planning?
Yep, it's very quick, and you can learn a lot in those 20 minutes.
Yeah, and again, they can access that via the website, or they can call the main number at fire station number 1 and access that.
Absolutely.
And if I'm not mistaken, we've done about 100 and just shy of 150 so far this year.
Yes, with having Providence Park Hospital and having the labor ward, we have a lot of referrals coming over there. You don't necessarily have to be a City of Novi resident. We want to make sure that every child is safe.
Yeah, and recently we had an event at Fire Station 4, and we do this about 2 or 3 times a year, where we totally open up and empty out, and it's basically a drive-through program. We do that with Operation Safe Kids, and I believe we did about a dozen inspections that day, where people just were able to drive up, drive through, and have that completed.
Yep, absolutely. Even if you think that you installed it properly, we can just take another look at it for you and make sure it is proper.
Absolutely. Any other fire safety tips that we should be aware of as we head into these summer months?
Well, as summer's coming up, fireworks are going to be a big issue. Make sure that fireworks are done safely. And now that the new law is out, where you could buy a different amount of fireworks, we want to make sure that they're safe and you can only light them off on the proper times.
Correct.
Also, thing is water safety. Make sure that anytime you're around water, especially your child, that you have a flotation device on. We don't want any injuries, especially in pools. We want to make sure that everyone stays very safe this summer.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you joining us here on Behind the Badge. We appreciate your insight. Certainly appreciate everything you do to not only mentor our new firefighters, but also the training programs and the inspection programs that that you perform throughout the community and for everything you do for the city of Novi. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And to you, the viewing audience, thank you for tuning in to Behind the Badge, and we hope you enjoyed this episode, and we encourage you to continue to watch Novi Television. Until next time, stay tuned.